Okay, we will call the November 5 Barrett Planning Commission meeting to order and begin with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a couple of reminders. The meeting is being projected on Zoom, so it's out in the world, wherever, and it's also being recorded. And sometimes it's difficult to hear people speak. So if you're going to speak, we ask that you state your name and your address and use the microphone up front. And be clear about it so everybody can hear what you're saying. At this point, the Planning Commission typically takes public participation on agenda items. I'll note that the Planning Commission will also take public participation also at the end of reviewing any of the applications or any of the other items of business. This time, is there any initial public participation on the agenda item? Hearing none, then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of October 1, 2025. I make the motion to approve.
October 7.
Yeah, okay, October's. Gotcha. That's not the right thing, but October 7, I stand corrected. October 7. Any additions or corrections to the October 7 meeting? I'll make a motion to approve. I have one suggestion. Again, great job on the meeting minutes. When you get to the public comment section on page number 2, do all the public comment items. And started out with public comment on the
millions
data center ordinance review, and then just sort of.
I'm sorry, 1 moment. Okay.
And it flowed right into property maintenance ordinance comments. With no distinguishment between the two. I'd suggest we either distinguish between the 2 different sections that we'll review, or the public comments regarding the data center ordinance be listed under the data center ordinance. You follow what I'm saying? And the
if public comments under data center, public comments under property maintenance. Okay.
Right now, you decide 2 items that we're reviewing. There could be 10.
Okay.
You know, it gets very complicated.
Okay.
And it just kind of flows all
Sure.
together. And it was better if it was.
Okay.
No other changes than Ralph? The motion. Second. Motion by Ralph, second by Drew to approve the minutes with that minor amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to non-agenda correspondence. Do we none? No, non-agenda correspondence. All right. Moving on to new business. 1, 2, 3, 4. Green Gables Land Development. Anyone here representing the applicant? Yes, sir. Could you come up to the front, say your name? Sure. And you go to the microphone. Sure. Good to start, but you may need your help up front.
My name is Devin Marks, and I'm a representative for Green Gables.
Okay. And tonight you have submitted a land development application. Could you explain that to the commission?
Sure. So we purchased the property a year and a half ago in February. And we remodeled the property and And there's quite a bit of work on it to increase the occupancy by expanding septic. We quickly realized that needs more attention than just a regular vacation rental property. And so we felt like it was best for us to stay on site. So we have guests that always have needs, this kind of property, shutting the pool at night, all sorts of landscaping. It's a big estate, it's 27 acres. And so we were hoping to do a little owner's village, 3 small homes, on the upper 10 acres. And that's where 3 of us owners will reside and be able to take care of the estate and take care of the property in, like, we're just planning on like small tiny homes. So that's what the overall scope is. That makes sense.
So the application is proposing 3 tiny homes to be constructed on the parcel with the existing 12 bedroom dwelling and another existing building, 2 existing buildings, right?
Yeah, there's a 3-bedroom dwelling and a 12-bedroom dwelling.
Any questions or discussion from planning commission members? Okay, we have a review from Indiana, our township engineer.
Yes, I'm so sorry. One moment. I can go
No,
get
that's
the
okay.
printer.
She's Nicole.
What?
Okay.
No, okay, I'm so sorry.
She's reviewed the application.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Please, right.
Yeah, she does. I can put it up on
I
the,
have a copy of the letter dated November 3rd saying that, she recommends the land development plan be accepted for review.
yes, thank you, Deb.
All right. With that, sure.
This piece of property, how is this going done? Without a variance? By our code, by our zoning now?
I don't know. That's what the engineer will.
This is currently in what, residential?
It
It
is.
is.
This is all residential?
Mhm. It's a 26 something acre parcel.
If I'm not mistaken, don't we usually have to subdivide this to add another house as we've done multiple times in here?
Yes, we live right in front of there. And we had inquired, we live right in front of their.
Excuse me, I'm gonna ask you to come up front and speak. But
Yeah.
hold on before you take the time. Problem tonight is just acceptance. I mean, it may not comply with the ordinances, it may fully comply with the ordinances, we don't know that at this point. That's why we're relying on Deanna to do the review. So at this point, we're really just looking at completeness. We have a letter from Deanna that says it's complete. So my suggestion is we just take action on the completeness. And then we do the review between this point and the next meeting.
That's right.
Can I just ask a question then?
Sure, name,
Jamie, Jamie Passmore, 6769 at 191 West PA 18326.
thank you.
Where on the property was because we live right in front of you guys. And at times it gets extremely loud, which is fine. We don't complain. You guys have like buddies up there and you're playing music till like midnight, you can holler and all that, but, where on the property would the houses be? Would it be like behind where, like over by like the golf place part or on the other end?
They're on the north side.
North side. So north is,
Yeah.
so like.
The other side of you.
Towards like Bobby Hill.
Further up what
Oh,
that one.
Okay.
Yes.
I was just, because I know that we couldn't build any water and all, we had to be like 100 feet off.
Yeah, so it's kind of in the north.
You want
Yeah.
Northwest.
Yeah, but I do know also that we had talked to you guys like a long time ago about putting another house on our property for our kids and that. And we've been told that would have to have been subdivided in order to do it, couldn't just add a house on the property there.
Or you need permission from DEP to build it on the same parcel.
Jamie, just for your information, tonight is merely an acceptance.
Oh, yeah, I
Okay,
was
so
curious.
if we go to the township engineer, she'll do a detailed review.
Yeah,
following the zoning ordinance and the subdivision land development
We
ordinance.
were honestly just coming because we know you guys like build like cabins up in there and we're gonna have like break down their house or their.
And the drawings in the application is a public record, so
Okay,
you may come in and review it at any time.
I'm good with whatever they do. Thank you.
All right, anything else? Then I will make a motion that we accept the application for Green Gables land development based on our township engineer review. Okay, motion by Brick, second by Patty. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Questions or discussion from the public? All in favor, say. Yes, go.
So I built a house,
Please, please.
Joe Matthew Lane, I was right next door. I built a house 3 years ago. I was forced to take down 2 houses. I was forced to take down 2 houses that were existing on the property in order to build my house.
Thank you.
Now I've got a village. For campers.
Thank you. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Well, I want to. You're opposed accepting it? Yeah. Okay. So we have. Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
4 in favor of accepting it. 1 opposed.
How many more people will this allow on the property?
All right, we're gonna move on to the.
Because the plan is just being accepted for review, so we have to give an engineer review back before we even know what's going on with it. We haven't had a chance to look at it, it's just being accepted for them to look at. So the next meeting, we'll have a review from the engineer and we'll be able to go through it in more detail as to whether it meets township ordinances or not.
This isn't the meeting to take it away.
Yeah, so-
If it doesn't meet township ordinances, why spend the money on?
Because everybody's allowed that.
Yeah, a property owner has the right to submit an application for a land development plan.
Well, he's a business owner. He's running a business on a residential parcel. And it's advertised micro weddings that our whole neighborhood is being affected by. And now you're allowing this to have more of it.
No,
I
right
got a
now,
whole campground in my backyard.
ma'am, right now, no one's allowing anything. What is happening is that a property owner has submitted a land development plan for review. That plan will be reviewed in accordance with the township ordinances and then the decision being made. Nothing is being accepted or allowed by just accepting a plan for review.
Okay, well, where was the plan for review when he was drilling his well in the middle of the winter on a Sunday morning at 7 a.m.? And then the previous, what was his name? Daryl, right? Told us that it was for storage for the pool, water storage. Where was the review of that? And I have complained and I put it in writing. Where's the review
Ma'am.
that they're living in a
Ma'am.
campground?
Ma'am,
They're living in a campground.
This is the planning commission. It reviews plans and makes recommendations to the board of supervisors. If there's concerns regarding other things that are happening with the property, that's to bring up with township officials, zoning officers, other folks, or the board of supervisors. The planning commission does not have authority over those things.
I'm happy to answer questions.
How about next meeting, okay?
Yeah.
So December tonight, everything is done as far as you folks are concerned. Thank you for your cooperation. And again, I ask the public, in the interest of time and efficiency, if you'd like to speak, come up to the microphone, state your name, and then speak when you're acknowledged, okay? Thank you, appreciate your cooperation. All right, moving on. New business, correction, old business, data center, final draft review. Data center ordinance has been reissued. Commission. Bert, can you bring that microphone closer to you, please? Oh,
Did you turn it on?
yeah, got a green button. Sorry. Sure. The data center ordinance was distributed to the planning commission at the end of October for review in what I believe is its semi-final form. And, let's continue with, this review in detail, line by line as we go over that.
Is it a revised data center ordinance?
The only thing, there's a couple of things that have changed.
Okay, cause I didn't receive a copy of whatever.
Before we start, or is your office the one that's taking care of the changing and has the control copy of the ordinance?
Yeah. I'm assuming Todd.
Okay. And I request that the date of publication or printing be added to the top and sequence so that all the revisions are shown on the ordinance, so it's clear we know which one we're looking at. Yes. I've got 3 different versions here and I'm trying to keep track of them.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I have the right.
Yeah.
I marked mine, 10/22, that was the day we received it by you.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't. Nicole, can you just make sure I'm copied on those emails?
All right, shall we begin? Patty, you had a comment?
Well, I was gonna say, H1, I don't believe any changes were made. H2. What we had at the last meeting, you had suggested changing on page 3, the minimum lot area. And
That's
that was discussed. And as a result of some feedback from the county planning commission, in regarding what's enforceable, you had mentioned 20 acres. Their opinion was 10 acres.
Patty, hold on, hold on, just one second.
Okay,
We had a planning commission meeting on a Tuesday, the supervisor being on a Wednesday. At that Tuesday meeting, there was no recommendations from the county planning commission. We went back and forth on the acreage of here.
yes,
The next night in the meeting, there was no additional information from the Monroe County Planning Commission of what they recommended and what they thought was right, and it was changed to 10 acres at that meeting. There was no input from the county. In that 12-hour period, nothing happened. At least I didn't see a thing, and I have not seen a piece of paper yet that says that. It went back and forth where the supervisors felt it was not defendable at 30 acres, 50 acres, 25, and we took it to 10. I still have yet to see any piece of paper or any information that says how many pieces of property we have to have to be, so we don't get sued. And then I heard other things to the supervisor that were more worried about how many trees and then changing setbacks and changing buffers and this and that. And we still have no information from the county that I know of yet today. Now, I do not want to hold this up. I want this to go into place so we can then change that. But this did not get changed because of information that was given to us by the county.
I'm sorry, that's the impression I was under. If I'm mistaken, I apologize.
You seconded the motion to accept the 10 acres as the plan, as the supervisor meeting next night. I don't know where this information came from. It was basically decided amongst the supervisors that we're taking the 10 acres. I just want that to be perfectly clear. We did not get anything, at least I have not seen it, and if I'm wrong, I'd love to see the info we got from them on how many pieces of property fit that criteria or how many we're supposed to have. Because I think we keep watering this thing down, we keep moving buffers in, we keep shrinking things for the fear we might get sued. Well, I have news for you. I've been sued many times in my life, and people will sue for anything. And they can sue for any damn thing they want. So how about we try to keep this a little stiffer and then fight it later? We spent hours on 10 acres, 50 acres, 20 hours. I just want this to come to an end on this acreage thing. If the supervisors only plan on keeping the 10 acres there, so be it. But that is not what this board recommended. That is not what we looked into. That is not what we sent to the supervisors. And even what Rick's made a motion, I believe, to go to 20. And you guys went half of that. I'm just confused on what we're doing here on this Like, it seems like we're trying to take this and make it the least possible effective document to keep a data center out of it, is my opinion. I'm sorry. And I'm done.
Okay. Ralph, just FYI, I believe, and Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, that it was issued to the planning commission on the 22nd of October. And as I recall the email, it was also sent to the county planning commission on that date.
Yes.
And the county has 30 days to review it.
I understand that.
So you won't see a review from the county most likely for another 2 weeks.
That's what I'm saying, but why we shrink it so much?
Well, but we need to do our review concurrently.
I understand.
So we can keep moving forward.
I've been
Yeah,
done, that
right,
we said
right now it's 10 acres. It's 10 acres. That's coming from the supervisor. Coming from the supervisor, as I understand it.
The problem I'm having with this, every time we get it, we put in recommendations and they send it back and we don't like that. That's the feeling I'm getting from this. So, right, that's one year to come back, they want
They
help.
have, and honestly, they have every right to do that. When they make a recommendation, they can come back and say, nope, we want it. And I think they made some other changes. We have to look, the planning commission has to look at it. You, as a board, can make recommendations back to them for whatever you want, and they can listen to it or not listen to it. It's up to them.
So-
Well, they asked for a review, so. And we gave it to them. That's fine. We can go back to that if you want. We can leave it at 10, right, you know?
I get it.
So, Rick,
We're at it. Yeah. They're trying to advising us. Run, they supervise. Who's saying that? We did.
Rick,
The attorney said, here, on the internet.
I believe that at one of the last supervisor meetings, Todd Weitzman was joined via Zoom, and he said that there is only one other municipality in Monroe County that has a minimum lot size of 10 acres. And that is the only township that is 10 acres. The rest are lower. So, and that's what the township solicitor said. So he advised the supervisors to stay either at that number or go lower to defend themselves against litigation.
So we're moving on. Number one, minimum lot area is 10 acres. Number two, any comments on number two? I have a couple on number two. Chapter 450, article 450-55 streets A is A, which is referenced. I believe you can check the zoning ordinance. That is the mobile home park, quote unquote, application section, not a street section, which defines arterial, connector, or collector road. So I'm questioning the section number.
Chapter 450 you're questioning?
Yes, I'm questioning chapter 450, article 450-55 streets. I believe that section pertains to mobile home park.
Well,
Yeah.
We really good here back here.
Is that better? Better?
No.
okay, you're right. 450-55 is under mobile home park standards.
Yeah, I believe the section number is incorrect. The other question in regard to item 2 is, do we have a list that defines whether a street is classified an existing street? I mean, not a proposed, is classified as arterial, connector, or collector road.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Do we have a document, something published, that classifies each existing street in the township and identifies what streets are arterial, connector, or collector roads?
Not that I'm aware of,
Not that I'm aware of either.
no.
So we're saying that a data center must be, or must have access to an arterial, connector, or collector road, but we don't have a list identifying what streets
Is which?
are which.
Are which, right,
Yes.
yeah.
I believe that needs to happen. It references the subdivision and land development ordinance, but that is in regard to proposed streets. That said, there really only are 2 streets in the industrial zone that have the potential for access. One is Route 390 and the other is Sand Spring Road. So my overall question then is, would Sand Spring Road qualify for access for a data center? And you may not have that answer, but that is something I think should be considered. And if it doesn't, then the only street that a data center could be proposed on would be 390.
Mhm.
Does that leave Hardy Town out?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, it does.
Because girl.
Were you afraid Cliff was gonna sell the property on you?
So
Were you afraid Cliff was gonna sell it on you?
my suggestion is that
I was
we,
afraid he'd kill me.
we look into the section number of the 450-55,
Mm-hmm.
and we also have a list of streets that identify their classification.
I just had a really quick question.
Okay?
This is in regards to the acreage. But what my question is that you guys have it broken down just as a data center in general? Or do you have it broken down as like a small data center?
Data center in general.
Okay, so what you wanna look into, there's different size data centers, there's not just a small one. Like the small one, you would do like 10 acres, a medium one, you would do 15 to like.
We're aware.
You got all that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going data center in general right now,
And then like later on, you're gonna break it down as to
Perhaps.
sizes and that.
perhaps.
Yeah, cause there's like 3 different size
Yeah.
ranges and they can be.
Yeah.
We were
Thank you.
told that they were ones that can go to the house, that's it, so.
No, there's, well, if you have, if like Amazon came down here and wanted to like build one, it would take over like the whole damn township, yeah. Yeah. So.
All right, anybody else have any comment on number 2? Okay, moving on to number 3. Anybody have comment on that? Okay, moving on to number 4. Anybody have any comment on that? I have several. First of all, in the opening paragraph, there are two statements, 2 separate sentences, one defining a 250-foot wide buffer yard from all property lines, and then a second sentence that says a 250-foot buffer yard, 250-foot buffer, not buffer yard, but buffer, is also required along the frontage of all streets. I think we need to be consistent with the wording, if it's buffer or buffer yard. But in one sentence, it refers to a buffer yard, in the other sentence, it refers to a buffer. And it also is inconsistent throughout the other A, B, C, D sections. So we should either identify it as buffer yard, which I believe is what it should be, as opposed to buffer. And I also suggest that we combine that second sentence so that it says a 250-foot wide buffer yard from all property lines and along the frontage of all streets. So it can't be misconstrued that the other subsections, A, B, C, and D, only apply to the buffer yards along streets. That makes sense to you? Then continue, anything else on the opening paragraph? Continuing on to subsection A, these buffer yards shall meet the following conditions. And there are 5, I think, A, B, C, D, E. Correct, 7, all through 8 through G. Which it goes into detail somewhat of what a buffer yard should be. And it don't include a vegetated screening buffer. But it does not provide any specific detail in terms of performance requirements. How wide is the buffer to be? It references varieties of evergreen trees. The trees shall be used to screen buffers comprised of 100% evergreen species. It doesn't provide any specifications as to the spacing of the trees. It doesn't reference a staggered row as you commonly see. So you've got 2 rows of evergreen trees in parallel, but they are planted in a staggered form so that they provide the visual obscurity to the adjoining property or to the property frontage. I believe there should be more detail because it's vague as to how you provide the screening for this buffer yard.
On that point, you have to realize that depending on the species will determine how far apart the space is.
Fine. Yeah. In my view, it should be prepared by the landscape architect that knows how to specify and space trees. It also, subsection B, then goes on to reference shrubs having a minimum height of 36 inches when planted. And again, there's no specifics as to are shrubs needed? Are they required? What's the spacing? What's the requirement for shrubs?
Well, in A, it says it's 100% evergreen species.
Okay.
You're talking arborvitae's, we talking.
You need a good nursery.
Are we talking one? Talking
Native and locally sourced.
I think there needs to be more detail or thought that goes into this subsection 4. On here. Okay. Anybody else on those items? If not, I'm going to move on to page. That is 3. Yeah, we'll move on to page 4. Number 5, okay. E at the top, it says the buffer yard may overlap the required side, front, and rear yards for building setbacks. In case of conflict, a larger yard shall apply. Well, the buffer yard is 250 feet. So the front, side, and rear setbacks are 150 and 75 feet. So the buffer yard exceeds the front yard by 2.5. Is that statement even needed? Subsection F, the township shall the planting shall conform to the township's requirements and shall not be considered invasive plants in accordance with the list established by DCNR. Does the township have requirements for the planting? I mean, if I'm an applicant and reviewing the ordinance, is there some place for me to go to say, or to find out what I need to do?
I thought that was part of that evergreen and planted versus.
The evergreens.
Maybe I
Those trees.
Misunderstanding, but I thought that the township requirements were what we said already in.
And why have the same?
Why not combine them?
Why have the same?
Well, and not invasive plants.
Well, the invasive, the invasive plants, according to DCNR, that's fine. But it says shall conform to the township's requirements. I don't know, it leads me to believe that there's something else out there that the township has to regulate plantings.
For other provisions of the land development, what does that have to do with anything?
Quite honest, I don't know, I didn't get into
Yeah.
that deep, I don't know.
Yeah, good question.
There could be, but I'm asking the
Yeah.
question. Moving on to subsection G. It says existing woods within the buffer, and again, this is another terminology issue. It says buffer, not buffer yard. Shall remain undisturbed and permanently maintained. But that contradicts the earlier sections where there's gotta be a dense evergreen planting within the buffer yard. So we're saying you've got to disturb and plant trees in the buffer yard, but subsection G says existing woods within the buffer shall remain undisturbed.
I think the idea of that was to avoid somebody going in and clear cutting everything.
I get that, Patty, but it says we should have plantings in a buffer yard. And then we shouldn't disturb the trees. in the buffer yard. I mean, maybe if we go through and define the planting section to be 10 feet or 20 feet wide, and that may be applicable to disturbance of existing vegetation, that would make sense.
Well, I think trying to cover that was the additional planting shall be added if required to achieve the visual screening requirements.
I think that section should be added, should be moved closer to B and then have it work off each other, like, so that you're maintaining the existing structure as space, and if that's not sufficient for visual screening, then you have to add those other things in, but they should play off each other, which is
But the actual reality, if we leave the existing plantings there and we dig open a 12-foot, 20-foot, 15-foot piece in the buffer to plant new stuff, we're gonna kill every tree there by ripping the root system out. So I'm just talking, I work in the field every day, moving dirt, digging trees. I know it digging down the roots of a tree, the next year it's dead. So then we have a problem taking dead trees down. So news for you, I hate to say this, but it probably is better to leave maybe the front 100 feet of that buffer or 150 or whatever, and the inside where you want to put this screening, you're going to clear it, take the stumps out, grade it up, and plant this new planting. Because you can't go in between these trees, especially here, as dense as our oak forests are, and dig a hole to put a 6-foot evergreen tree in that has a 24-inch fall. It's just not, everything's gonna die. It's not going to work. And then you're gonna expect the developer to come back in and keep maintaining stuff that's, we're setting up an example, but the scenario that's going to fail. I understand what Rick's trying to say there. If you wanna plant them on the outside towards the road, fine, then that's the 50 feet that has to be cleared. If you wanna leave the existing forest, Patty, along the road and put the buffer on the inside, or the screening planting on the inside of that 250-foot buffer, then you have to give up 50, 60, 75 feet of that buffer and clear that and take everything out and then replant that. You can't have this perfect, adding trees to a new forest. Nothing will work. That's just reality. And we can check with the same landscape architect we should check with on the back, but I kind of think he's gonna agree with that.
Well, I think the intent, Ralph, and I may be wrong, but as you know, you can easily look through a deciduous forest and see 100 yards.
Yeah.
Well, that's 300 feet. So this is 250 feet, so it's less than that. So if you just leave the stand of deciduous forest, you will have trees, but they may not effectively be screening what you're going to screen.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
So this is intended to screen that.
Well, that's what I said, but they'll take the front or the back of this buffer.
Right, it should be specific.
An idea that
It's to where,
we're not even thinking about
Should be specific as to where it is, the dimension and the location. Mike. Carol, go ahead.
Electricity has to go in. They run a whole open area to put their poles in, and that has to be kept cut and groomed. And the towers can be up to 240 feet, and they are circular, and they take up a great base land. So the buffers may not even have much to do once the electric company comes in. And that's the bad part, is everybody works on the database center and they don't consider the PPNL coming in and what they're going to do.
Because they come in after.
Yes,
They come in after.
they come in after it's built and then destroy even more that you wanna maybe consider when you're thinking buffers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody have anything else? Under subsection 3? 4. All right, moving on, subsection 5. Anything? Subsection 6. Subsection 7. 8-foot high fence. It's unclear whether that fence should be within the buffer or on the project side of the buffer.
On the inside, of course.
Just a curiosity, any fence, Barrett Township over 6 feet needs a variance, so they automatically get 8-foot variance.
Why do they need a variance?
Ralph, it's any
For
fence,
permit.
any fence over 6 foot requires a building permit. Any fence over 8 foot requires a variance.
So they just need a permit for that fence. My mistake.
I don't know, it says inside the landscape buffer, that, I don't know whether it's inside the buffer or within the project side of the buffer. You tell me, I can argue it both ways. Anything else on item 7? Okay, item 8, anybody have anything under item 8 with regard to parking? I'm gonna read this one.
Yes.
All right, data storage centers are to be provided with at least one parking space for 8,000 square feet of floor area intended to be accessible regularly by employees, comma, or one parking space for every one employee based on the maximum number of employees on site during the largest shift, comma, whichever is lesser. So in this, the way it's worded, an applicant could build an 8,000 square foot data center with one parking spot and have 10 employees. How's that going?
Listen, you argued back when they built CVS, that there's not much parking because people don't go to CVS and spend all day there. And we have a parking lot at CVS, the only time it's used is for the parade. So I definitely think that our parking equations or algorithm needs to be addressed.
It doesn't seem how to CVS though.
I think that, the parking requirements are uncertain because data centers are new. And I'm not sure how much information is out there and how much parking is needed.
Yeah, everything I read for a data center, there's some of these monster ones have 20 people running the whole place.
Right. I would like to see it written so that there is a reserve area for additional parking, but the parking that is to be provided and the impervious area that results from that parking be kept as minimal as possible. But if there's grass area that's available next to it, that could be expanded if more parking is determined to be needed, that grass area should be reserved and provided.
I'm not exactly sure how you phrase that.
I don't know either. But you understand me, right?
Actually, I do.
Thank you.
It's happening, guys.
You should talk to my wife.
I know, I have.
And on to item 9. Anybody on that? Item 10. Item 11. Item 12. Moving on. Item, okay, 12 is a long one. So 12 has to do with evidence of adequate water supply, sewage disposal to be provided. Subsection A under 12, it's public water supply in the case of a public water supply system. You've got to provide the necessary documentation. Subsection B is on-lot water supply. And subsection B is very detailed. And it mimics the Pennsylvania DEP public water supply regulations. It talks about well development, drilling, testing, pump tests, monitoring wells, water sampling, chemical testing, and everything that you would see in public water supply regulations. Is there a reason why we couldn't require data centers to be served by public water supply?
You have the ability.
We have no water.
The residents would have no water. They use 100,000 gallons a day. Water.
It's
I
the
don't think
applicant's
Aqua of New American Waters.
responsibility for the infrastructure.
It's as if you're putting in a condition that can't be met.
50-acre
But you
lots.
know that it can't be met. So the same sort of idea is putting in a condition you know can't be met.
Well, it's good then they won't come.
Well, if we're going to regulate on-lot water supply in the detail that this lists, I think we're gonna need to hire a hydrogeologist and some other professionals who,
I thought they had to do that. Don't they have to do that?
well, yes, but we have to review it. I'm not reviewing it.
The 4,000 gallons is way off because it's 100,000 a day.
That's for the study.
That's just the DEP study.
It's for the
That's not-
study.
That's not their fault.
Anybody have anything on the water supply part of it?
The discharge is, gotta be a discharge of the water that's used.
No, actually, Willow, the majority of it is evaporated. Not really, there's not a huge runoff in a data center.
So it's not even recirculated.
There are systems at some data centers that have the ability to capture the vapor and, turn it back into water to put it back in. But of course, that is an expense that some do. And some would probably do that if they had limited water ability. So if you have unlimited water, why would you spend the money to do that? If you have a limited water supply, you probably have to look at that. But I'm not an
The
expert.
local public water is gonna be very limited.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Rick, in my opinion, the scariest part of the data center here is the assault on our local water system. It's not the lot size, it's not the visual view, it's not anything else. It's what potentially could happen to our water. So, I know you said hiring a hydrologist, that may actually be very beneficial and important for the supervisors to consider, because the water is going to be the key factor.
We need to model the water table.
Yeah, and our water table isn't that great.
And I think that's where we added so much detail and.
Well, most of it's ran at DEP, but I mean, this
Yeah.
is right from DEP's. Okay, so, but I'm just saying,
So somebody has to have the background to do this review.
yes, and we
We have
have
the
not,
township.
and we do not.
They have to have the background or have the consultants to the background to do the design. So some other things that I question, it says, for instance, on the bottom of page 9, says the applicant shall provide proof of review and approval for data centers meeting the following criteria. Annual water usage reports are required to be submitted to the PADP for data centers over 10,000 gallons per day over a 30-day period. Water withdrawals with an average of 10,000 gallons per day over a 30-day period must register with DEP. Water withdrawals over 100,000 gallons a day or more over a 30-day period must register with the DRBC. The 100,000 gallon a day criteria is a DRBC requirement. Any consumptive water use of 20,000 gallons a day or more over a 30-day average from any water source is required to be reviewed and approved by the DRBC. Do you think the DRBC is going to review and approve water use from a data center in Barrett Township?
No.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
First off, give me add this, when I put the big wells in the Camelback for their snowmaking system, DEP required us to put in 3 what they call stilling wells in the stream there in Coconut Creek. And they monitor them 24/7. And when those wells, drop to a certain spot, those pumps have to be shut off. Now, you can do that in a snowmaking operation because on the outside, they're filling water park pools, their detention ponds, everything. I don't think you can do it with data center, you can't shut their water off.
But it regulates.
Well, DEP, for them, Camelback regulates, I know that.
In this case, I guess we're gonna regulate.
Oh, yeah. Are you going to regulate?
No,
I'm busy.
I'm not smart enough for that, Ralph.
It sounds like DEP meant that these, I'm reading that section to say that these organizations require these things to happen if you're at those levels of usage.
I know DEP
So like
monitors.
even us making that up, that if you get this number, you have reports done, I think it's the Delaware River Basin, they say, if you use that much water, then this is what we require of you.
You use over 100,000 gallons a day, you're required to get DRBC approved. That's gotta be adopted on your DRBC agenda. This to say that we're gonna be required to submit reports to DRBC for approval if they use 20,000 a day. I just don't see DRBC even entertaining. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Anything else on that subsection B? If not, we'll move on to C, which is on sewage disposal. Anything on that? Then on to 13, environmental impact assessment. Anybody have any comment on the environmental impact assessment? I have a question on subsection, correction, page 11, subsection E1, critical impact areas. Critical impact areas include, but are not limited to floodplains, riparian buffers, streams, wetlands. And the list goes on, hydric soils, erodible soils, but it lists in there hydrologic soil groups. Every soil is classified into one of 4 hydrologic soil groups, A, B, C, or D. I'm not sure that hydrologic soil groups belongs in that critical impact area definition. Every soil is a hydrologic soil group. That means every area would be a critical impact area. Anybody else have anything under E? Under 14, interconnection with electric supplier provider. Okay, under 15, fire protection plan.
The only thing I think that might have been mentioned is two sides, one that the fire department like to have them have a 55-gallon drum and there's fire protection foam because of the use that it would have with the fire.
I don't think we can require
It's in there. Second
Yeah,
half on
it
that
is.
page.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
in there, page 12.
It's in there.
Oh, okay.
I don't see how that is going to functionally work out.
No, I don't see that either, but I think that should be written down.
One thing I think should be added is that the project should be provided with fire hydrants and fire protection that meets ISO standards, Insurance Services Office standards. Nowhere in here does it say hydrants are required, but having some experience in the fire company, having water to fight a fire is almost essential.
Well, if they have the ability to flow 100,000 gallons of water a day, we should really tap into that.
They should have a storage tank in line view
Um,
and infrastructure that can provide the hydrants.
There is an on-site water tank requirement, 16E.
Besides giving.
I think we get the electric, because that's gonna affect all of us. The electric rates.
It speaks to the tank, Nicole,
Okay,
but it doesn't say anything about hydrants.
Oh.
It says based on the required fire flow, building hazards. There is a standard for that, it's ISO. And that will regulate the flow required for the size and type of building and type of construction. As will it regulate the volume of the supply to be provided.
On 15, second predator. Or, yeah, including but not limited to the location of hydrants in the house. Is that enough for a fire hydrant?
That's what we thought.
right.
Doesn't say hydrants are required.
Location of hydrant.
I would argue the other way. I would say, no, you don't say it.
But it said you have to have the location for it.
So I would say, you would say it. Right
Shall,
about friend.
they shall incorporate.
I think it should be stated that fire protection hydrants, water systems be provided. Yes, name and addresses.
Most people don't, but I'm Mr. Jones.
I get you, but we're speaking to the world, you know, we're out there broadcasting. You may be sitting in Panama right now.
So one thing that Grover brought up in the meeting was about them having to supply this special type of fire foam. I don't see that anywhere.
Yes, it is.
I briefly
It's
read it.
talked about that.
Yeah.
The 16F.
I thought it would be under fire department, not emergency management. Right down there.
Anything else on page 12?
Boy, maybe we don't want any fire suppression stuff, so it can just burn to the ground. We don't want it.
I go request 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel also.
Yeah, and it's, we have to store like, no.
Storm grid.
That's good. point. So 16, emergency management, nothing. 17, power supply. Comments on that, there's A and B.
I can be honest with you, we probably have nothing to do with this. They're not hooking this plant up to the poles that are on the road today. The power that I'm reading about that they require, this is a whole separate, I don't know where PPL phone is from, but it's not coming down little poles going down 390. It will light up and melt right off the wire. So, but this is basically just, so we realize this is a power line coming in from somewhere to this building. I don't know if it's up the railroad tracks, if it's through a party town from Mount Pocono, if it's down through Turkey, no, but our infrastructure in this town can't do this. We're somewhat in.
They're huge towers, and the wires are huge.
Yeah, if this is a, I mean, I'm just reading numbers online, it's astronomical.
One of the places that I read, their electric bill went up 275%.
To cover the infrastructure to build the system to bring this in. And that's gonna come on your transmission part of that bill, not the generation side of that.
Well, one of the requirements earlier on was that the applicant shall provide
Right.
a letter of agreement or whatever from the power company.
Yeah,
If they don't comply. That's a requirement for the conditional use of permit.
but that's what they say, this section here to us, we is so far out of our hands at the township level, it's not even funny.
Under item 17, 17B specifically, it says any energy generation system designed or used to supply power directly to a data center during normal operations, including solar, wind, fossil fuel, blah, 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 shall not be considered part of the data center use. Such systems shall be considered a separate use and shall be approved according to the zoning regulations applicable to such use. Do we have regulations for energy generation systems?
That word nuclear, no, I don't do it for anything.
I don't know
I
how
think that's a
you,
great point.
design to or enforce subsection B.
And is that a separate land section from the data center?
It'd be like a separate permit issuance.
Any generation to supply power directly to a data center during normal operation shall not be considered part of the data center, quote unquote, use. So it's a separate use. But then it goes on to say it shall be approved according to the zoning regulations applicable to such use. To my knowledge, we don't have any regulations addressing energy generation systems. I could be wrong, but. Anything else under 17? Under 18? Anything under 18? I'm not sure why 18 is in there, but. 19, noise control.
Quick question. Who is our township professional acoustical expert?
What?
Oh, who wrote this? And like, where did this come from?
That's what I just.
Well, that's actually a legitimate statement because the township can hire an acoustical expert. An acoustical expert, just like they would hire a hydrogeologist to review the water system.
Well,
So,
verbiage makes it sound like we already have one.
yeah,
So this is all.
but
gonna raise our
hopefully we
taxes
never get one.
tremendously.
But never need one. Anyway,
including
water
water and the electric.
under noise control, I don't know, it says 19 subsection A, but there's no subsection B. So is subsection A needed? Under, it lists a decibel level of 57 decibels. I don't know what that is. How loud is 57 decibels? How loud is that?
It was,
Apparently I'm not.
Rick, there's a question.
Yeah.
One second. Krista, go ahead.
She typing it or is she?
She raised her
55
hand.
is the home of cooling fans and other.
I was trying to unmute myself, sorry.
No,
Those data centers put off a tremendous amount of noise. So I'm assuming what they're talking about there is how loud you're permitting these data centers to be. It would be kind of like a disturbing the peace, in my opinion. I did jump on a little bit late. Did we touch on any section that had to do with runoff?
No, the runoff would be addressed in a stormwater management ordinance. There's a
Stormwater
specific-
management. So, and we haven't discussed that yet, or no?
And it won't be discussed. Again, it's a stormwater management ordinance. It's a standalone ordinance to address runoff.
Okay.
Okay, Patty, I'm sorry, your question or your?
I looked.
There's a question back here. Wait, hold on, Patty, let her finish her statement first, then we get the question. We'll forget.
I looked at a bunch of different sites and it generally is 55 decibels is a quiet suburban street, the hum of cooling fans or other equipment from the data center. A 60 decibel is the sound of a normal conversation. And so, limiting it to below 60 decibels. Another site I found said 50 to 40 decibels is a moderate to light rain or the sound of your refrigerator going on in the kitchen.
If you talk to anybody out west that's already living with them, that is not true. Because they've already started in California and they're working this way. I have 2 kids that live out west. The noise is not talking, whispering.
Well, we're not, no, I'm saying, so when they're talking about the backup diesel generators of a data center, they're talking about 171, 129, which is like a siren. But we were trying to limit the sound to say that it's gotta be under 57. So I don't know what they have in those other places.
My name's Jerry Murphy, I live on High Road. So at the last supervisors meeting, it was put at 57 across the board, day and night, 24 hours, 7 days a week, right, correct?
Yeah.
Nicole brought up a question from someone that had contacted you, I believe, saying, how do you turn it down at night? Correct?
That's why we changed.
Okay, and that's why we changed it to 57 across the board. Is that a doable number or it's not a doable?
Well,
Do we know? I don't care about the vacuum cleaner. I don't care about a normal conversation. Because it can't be loud.
the numbers that on the sites that I looked at says that a data center has typical constant humming from servers and cooling systems at 75 decibels. So we're telling them they've got to keep it quieter than that. And then it says that the low end of typical data center background noise would be at 60 decibels. But again, it's just different.
24 hours a day.
But that number would also be measured from the property lines. So whatever measure it would take to maintain that sound is the measure that they would have to take, whether that means like building some kind of like a sound barrier around the property, then that's what the measure would be to maintain that level of sound.
The ordinance goes on to say that if they don't need it, we'll add on to the sound study 6 months after, see what's happening once it's functioning. And if they don't need it, then it's a violation and their zoning permit could be revoked if they don't keep it at the level from the property line as the 57 that's required.
Are we keeping that at 57?
That's what's proposed in this
That
ordinance.
is proposed.
Yeah.
Are you guys okay with that?
We don't get to say.
Oh.
We only make a recommendation.
That's about it.
But I have
Are
a
you
question.
recommending that it stays there?
But I have a question,
I don't think they take it louder.
and I'm gonna shoot myself as soon as I say this. If we're gonna put 57 in there, and that's not a reasonable thing, we might get sued on that, like 50 acres.
Yeah.
So if a data center can be held to 57 decibels, we just made an ordinance that is not acceptable, and now the whole thing's out the able to anywhere we want. So, all kidding aside, I really think we should talk to whatever that word you said, because I'm not even trying it.
I couldn't say.
Acousticologist, whatever. it was.
Acoustical expert.
That, because we keep glancing over these things, but we go, I know I'm beating a bad subject here, and I'll just use an example. If we can't defend 50 acres, and that's a problem, that limits us to a point, if we put a decibel level at a certain point and it's not defendable, doesn't that nullify everything again?
But my question is, then, if that's our number, and we're not flexible with it, and they don't like it, then they need to come back and tell us the number. But we will never know if 57 would have been accepted.
I
We don't
agree,
start
I
it.
agree 100% with you, but I'm saying that's why we should have kept the 50 acres.
Well, I'm not.
And that's why we should
sure
have
that.
all
That
of our
was good.
higher numbers, and we should have not that, we lowered and ordered this entire thing down. So we didn't end up in litigation and made it so it would fit in this town. All I'm stating is 57 a realistic number in the data center world? Or did we just put something in this ordinance that's impossible for them to go to, the same as the acreage thing? That's all.
Todd was on Zoom our last meeting, and he didn't oppose it, so I don't know.
I don't know where the 57 comes from.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, maybe
Well, I
a data
believe
center
it
runs
was
at 75 and
57
that's.
during the day, turned down to 47 at night, and the question was, who's turning it down? How do you turn it down?
I don't think
So they
I think
said
it's
across the
legit
board at
question.
57.
A lot of townships require sound walls or acoustic baffles.
Yeah.
So that's something that you can put in there because they said that the nighttime noise level is where a lot of the townships are butting heads because they can't turn it down like that. So they require other means to make it quieter.
Well, Jamie, I also think that if we hold the number, say at 57, 60, 63, whatever the number
Yeah.
comes to be, and they can't do it, then it's up to them to put up a sound barrier.
Well, that's what we're saying.
And all the pieces to make, to get within
That they have.
in the number.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to say is, I just want to know that we're not putting a number on this, that's impossible for them to do.
According to readings, it is impossible for them to get down to your nighttime levels of what looks down to 3
Then I'm fine.
Another comment on Zoom from Nicole Press. Hey, Grant, I was speaking.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Another comment on Zoom from Nicole Pressman said, below 50 decibels, data center technology is evolving constantly. There's no reason to not go less than 55 or 50. It's not impossible.
I just want to remind everybody right now, we do not have an ordinance and we're the most vulnerable now. We could beat this to death and keep delaying it. And they could do whatever they want. So I really recommend we hash through it and get something on the books as soon as we can. Get it, instead of passing it back and forth for months. Even if it's not perfect, let's revise it later because we're the most vulnerable right now with no ordinance, so.
Yeah,
we really don't get
No,
it.
I'm just saying,
No,
you know,
I'm
like,
saying
we
that to
could,
you.
yeah, we could
It has
discuss
to
it
be
and
done.
debate it, but, you know, we all have to remember, the sooner we get this, the better protected we are, and if we want to revise it later. But I think it's in everybody's best interest to keep this moving as fast as possible, so just.
We have very few ordinances in Barrett Township that don't have amendments and changes. Because they have to change as times change. So most of our ordinances
Yeah.
are
I just,
liquid
I
or
feel what.
fluid or whatever we want to say. So if you do that,
Yes. And then we
Always.
Yeah. They have to be, they can't stand still.
And one of the things about this is it's a conditional use. So as things change, we can make conditions on what's gonna be built and where it's gonna go and buffers and all that stuff, sound barriers.
Well, conditional use will always
There's
go
a
back.
lot of stuff you need to learn or hire something like those.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Okay, anything else under item 19, noise control? Then on to item 20. Any comments on item 20?
There is no 20.
Yeah. Anything else? Data center. And Nicole, I think we're complete. We can check this off or cross this off our agenda. Moving on, old business. Continue review of chapter 375, property maintenance ordinance. What's your pleasure? Do you want to pick up on that now? Deb has to leave in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you want to put a pause on it and continue?
That's fine. I make a motion, we pause on this till the next meeting. Because we know where it's going. This is not as important, I think it's important, but this does not have the urgency that the data center ordinance has. So I think right now we.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Ralph, second by Patty to pause on the maintenance ordinance.
Table it.
Table.
Table till the next meeting. Yeah, not pause, no, I'm not saying that. Yeah, no. Next meeting we'll look at it again.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on, item 8, sketch plans, none. And 9, planning business, none. I want to make one final statement in closing. I want to thank you for your cooperation in, coming up to the microphone and identifying yourself and speaking. We appreciate that. We're trying to get through this as best and fast as we can. And, it takes a lot of time. So we appreciate your cooperation. Thank you. Anything else to come before the planning commission? Hearing none, we're adjourned at 50. Thank you for coming.
One second.